it's great to have 5 entrepreneurs with me. I consider myself maybe 6. I actually like to have this direct and honest conversation with you, and maybe adding to the whole group here that are with us. You know, I think we are in the point of stop talking about BS entrepreneurship. I think there are a lot of people becoming entrepreneurs for the wrong reasons, and I think it's now a time to talk about reality, or how hard it is, but how satisfying it is at the same time. So when Ruben told me, okay, let's have this panel of entrepreneurial rock and roll, and what does it mean? So there are lots of ups and downs. I think everybody talks a lot about the ups, and I think I'd love to hear you guys talking about the ups, but also about the downs. And then I'll quote something from Ben Horowitz that I actually like. He put it on Twitter the other day. It's like, as a startup CEO, I slept like a baby. I woke up every 2 hours and cried. So based on that, I'd just like to have a quick round with you guys about your lows. Tell me one big low that you had, one big failure, whatever you can call it, whatever you feel comfortable about it, but something that was not that perfect, and how you dealt with that, how you dealt with this low, how you avoid depression, how besides the low you kept your team motivated, and we know how hard it is. People don't give a shit about our idea at the beginning, and then you keep doing, and then still don't give a shit, and you keep doing, and eventually you move on, or you have something that adds value. So just a quick round on your thoughts, and then if you can discuss a little bit about it. Whoever wants to start, have mics.
Yeah, I can start.
Sure.
I'm Marko. Well, yeah, one of the biggest, until now, lows on my end is that I had my angel investors saying that they want to get out on the day that the VC, deal was signed. So it was a kind of a hard hit for us. How did you deal with that? Well, you're in a
despite being depressed,
panic situation, and trying to manage the VC that everything is okay.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you deal with it. So you keep on pushing. You're persistent, as most of the presenters today explained. That was one of the most important things, is to just keep on pushing and trust in be obsessed with what you want to do.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that's it.
Good.
I don't know to say there's just one fail. I think and I always like to say every day I have, 100 failures and 100 wins, and I hope that I have every day more wins than failures. And this is the fight that you're making every day. And I think this is about startups. First of all, you have to be clear that you make failures. But on the other side, every day you have to push yourself and say, this is a failure, but I will get a win after that. And this is, when he says you cry every day, this is like you really have this feeling every day. But then on the other side, you have the ups where you have possibilities that you wouldn't have if you would not go for a startup. I was working before that in a consulting company where you are going the ladder step by step. But if you're working for a company, you have the possibility to really change things, what you think makes sense. And this is something that is quite tough to achieve somewhere else in that short amount of time.
I would continue from there. Basically, a young entrepreneur sees many fails, and if you, of course, have one big fail, that's very bad. You have to close the startup or the company. But in our company, we had many different small fails. One of them is, for example, you cannot deliver the pay to the salary to your employees, and you have to face them. You have to tell them, we don't have the money, we didn't close the deal, the sales deal, and we will have to wait for I don't know, 1 week, 14 days, 1 month. This is one of them. The second, for example, can be maybe you're trying to get a limit on the bank account, and you're fighting bureaucracy, and this takes a lot of your time. Then maybe another fail. you believe that you have a great partner, I don't know, in the other part of the world, for example, Australia or Hong Kong or the USA. You go there with a big wish to close the deal, to make the sales, but in the end, because you didn't prepare correctly, because you didn't, I don't know, seek or find other people that you can close the deal with, or I don't know, you did research your partner well, then you don't close the deal and you come home without anything in your hands. Right. So many small failures are, I believe, a constant in the startup business. I'm glad you shared these failures, because these are the typical failures. I don't know if to call it failures, just to put it a name, but this is the life of an entrepreneur. I think that's it, right? Going to the bank, paying the salary, going to this trip. I mean, many times I remember in my case having 70 proposals and having no no's, but no yes. So, and you invested, it's time, it's money, but that's how hard it is. But great examples, actually.
Yeah, hi, Matej from Visionect. So failure, what's that? No, I'm kidding. We've been failing so many times while we were trying to get Visionect across to the very successful startups. With everything from wrong hires to wrong investors to wrong products, etc., everything. So the only thing that gets you through is actually to do something that you really love and enjoy doing every day. Because you're going to fail eventually, sooner or later.
Sooner or later, absolutely.
No, small failures, big failures, whatever.
Absolutely.
So the only thing to get across is do the things that you love. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Enej.
I would perhaps first just comment there is this difference between failure and mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And some things that we're saying here are mistakes, they're not failures.
Absolutely.
So I think that's actually full blame of the entrepreneur, not the failure.
Yeah.
A failure is something that you cannot really influence in full. So a lot of young guys go into things without preparing properly, and that's just a mistake. However, I think I would rather address your first question, the downside of entrepreneurship, not really failures. And I think the quote that you mentioned is actually very appropriate, because what you have to realize, and what many young people don't realize, is when you decide to be an entrepreneur, it means that it's a long time of full, morning to night, through nights and to the next morning, days in and holidays and everything else, full-scale dedication to your business. You wake up with it, you go to sleep with it, Absolutely. And you dream about it. It takes a lot of toll on your family, it takes a lot of toll on your personal life, and depending what kind of business you're in, we're in biotech, the life cycle of research in biotech takes a long time, takes a lot of investment into equipment, and takes a bunch of PhD postdocs who spent 2 decades researching before they can actually become useful to you. Yeah. So it's actually, it's a big commitment, and it takes a long time before you actually can reach what you set out for, unless you fail, of course. Yeah. But I agree with the comments here that I think that the driving force for that is your vision, that you're actually creating something, yeah?
Absolutely.
Because, many times you would think, okay, I have a PhD from top university, I have this, I have that. I could have an easy job, 8 to 4, have 3 times the salary and just have an easy life. But, you're basically then a piece of a puzzle in something that is happening without Absolutely. Your influence. Here you're creating. So I think pursuing your vision makes up for that many people don't actually realize when they think entrepreneurship is sexy.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think I'll pick this point, and I think that's the idea of this first round here. Is I love where you comment here, is that maybe a lot of people are getting to this for the wrong reasons, and people have this idea that entrepreneurship is sexy. I don't want to destroy dreams at all. I think it's, of course, it's part of doing what you love. But then when you get into this, you realize how hard it is, how long it takes, and how unsexy it is. Because in the end, most of the things, like going to the bank, is not that sexy, but if you don't go, a lot of things will happen to do. So I'd like you to comment on this, you know, to bring this reality to the table, because I think it's not, a lot of people are talking about motivational things, how to be a rock stars of everything, which is part of the deal, and I want you to comment on that as well. But given the amount of experience that I have here, I would really like to get your first-hand experience to share with everybody here on this.
Yeah, there's also one other thing that's, you know, because we were kind of a lot of talking about lows, but in every hurdle lies an opportunity. And it,
sure.
You know, if you have that kind of attitude, so that's something that drives you forward. So whenever something bad happens, if you can, you know, create an opportunity out of it, that's a great thing.
And which advice you guys would give, you know, for this, let's say, the top 3, to put the number, in terms of bringing this reality check? You know, I know we know all the good parts of the sexy aspect of being an entrepreneur, but this reality check, like the 3 advice that from your personal experience that you could bring.
I would like to comment on the sexy things connected with startup life. So people think that startup life is sexy because you're your own boss.
Right. You have a lot of time, right?
Sorry?
You have a lot of free time.
You have a lot of free time. You tell people what to do. You have a great salary. You talk to important people, and so on and so on. But in my 5-year time spent in a startup, I have not experienced the sexy, the sexy way of life in a startup. What I have experienced is a very low salary, chasing people that don't want to talk to me, then going to the bank, going to talk to our people regarding the salaries, regarding the problems we have. And this is, you know, behind the scene, it is not so sexy. But I believe that we all here we are here because we love to do what we are doing. We love to, I would not say that we love to solve problems, but the particular problem in our startup, but in general, we love to solve problems. And we are happy when we close something at the bank or we close a deal. It's not, you know, so great discussing a contract, because I'm not a lawyer, I'm an engineer, I would like to develop something. But in the end, I have to discuss the contract with our partner. And I don't want to do that, but what I love is closing that, putting that behind, and achieving a small success.
Mm-hmm. Maybe what can be said for the real life is, I was saying that you have ups and downs every day, but this is like really making you really hard, that it's like up, that you have a new customer saying you get this and that perspective. The next hour later, a customer you were working with 2 months, you were investing money in that, saying I don't want to do this anymore, and that's the reason that if you want to do it, don't want to come with that, you can go to court if you want, but you don't have the money, so that's the point. Right. Then the next day you hear that an investor wants to invest in your company, and 1 hour later, one employee says, well, I don't get paid enough, I quit. Mm-hmm. And this is like every hour there is a new challenge that you have to face, and this is how you have to learn to cope with that. And I think also that's why it's so important to talk about these positive aspects, because you need this for yourself. You have to tell for yourself, why are you doing that? And you have to keep the emotional level positive. And this is what I think is the biggest change when you come from let's call it a normal job, is you always have to be positive, because you have to keep the team positive, the partners positive, everyone positive about what you're going to do, what is your vision, although you know how tough it is, the liquidity problem, the team problem, the customer problem, and so on. And this is the real challenge, I think.
Absolutely.
So I think Ben Horowitz in that book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, mentioned somewhere that there are only 2 feelings that you, in the end, feel. It's being either ecstatic or depressed. Right. So basically, short, that's exactly how you feel. Yeah.
Again, I must disagree. I think if you go that way, then it always you have this kind of up and down, and you are rushing into things with emotion. Yes, there is emotion, but emotion should be your passion for doing what you're doing. You should pursue your vision, but at the same time you should be firm on the ground. You should you ask about what would be an advice.
Right.
And I think the main advice, and I'm hearing things from comments here, yeah. What is again very typical for many people is they are not prepared. They don't know about their product, about their customer. They don't know about the cash flow.
Right.
They don't know about the responsibilities, and so on. So basically, you get a pitch from an entrepreneur, and he wants to take over the world, and he doesn't understand the cost, the time, the scope. He doesn't understand the risk of every key milestone to be achieved, and so on. So what you need to first do is be realistic. Analyze all the situations, all the ins and outs, all the SWOT tables that you can do. Plan for the realistic, then the pessimistic, then the ultra pessimistic, and you have to actually manage with an ultra pessimistic divided by 2.
Absolutely.
And that's if you can run your team and your business on that projection, then you're okay. And it means that yes, I agree with those comments. You have to be positive, you have to motivate, absolutely, but at the same time, you have to make sure that you're not exaggerating both to yourself as well as to your team. You have to be realistic, because in that way, things will go, everything that you reach above those ultra-pessimistic targets will be a success. And everybody will be moving along positively. If all the time you overdream and then think you failed, it's all the time ups and downs, and people are then becoming sort of disillusioned.
It's a good approach. And I think one of the points that you mentioned is about the risk management. Now, people, for some reason, have this perception that entrepreneurs love risk. I don't know one entrepreneur that loves risks. But, I mean, if you want to comment on this, I think this is a very good approach on, with the risk of being pessimistic, but realistic. If you want to comment on this, and then talk about the ups as well. I don't want to be just, I don't want to be depressive. I just want to be realistic. I think it's time to start being realistic with all the boom of accelerators, etc., which is great. I'm myself responsible for part of the boom of creating this pitch, but I think it's time to really bring this. So if you can comment a little bit on the risks and also the good aspects, the ups, and how you got the ups, but didn't start to think like a boss, or didn't start to think, okay, I got it, and now I'm the boss. How did you manage this from the positive perspective?
So, yeah, it's incredibly satisfying when you build a new product.
Absolutely.
You solve some kind of problem that hasn't been solved before. That gives you that very positive drive and makes you feel great for at least a few days.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess that's why I'm doing it. It's solving some problems that haven't been solved before, and building new products that at least when you're building them, you have to dream big when you're building them. And that dreaming big in the time while you're building the product, that's the time that I love the most. So yeah, probably that time for me is that thing. We're in the electronics business. Our projects usually take also a long time before you build a product, build a prototype, evaluate it, go through a pilot phase, etc. It can take a few years before you can go out to market. Right. So those few years in between are the very positive time for me that's kicking me to
creating the product.
Move forward. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe a comment on the risk management.
Yeah.
I'm Jakob. I come from company MESI. We develop medical devices, and one of the essential things in placing a medical device on the market is risk management, risk analysis. So we have to find all the risks, we have to evaluate the risks, and we have to basically improve the product to get rid of those risks. If we cannot do that, then we have to put a big warning in the instructions of use. So this is how we handle risks in the product itself. But it is a much bigger problem handling the risks on the company level. I would say that some ways lowering the risk can be used from the medical devices itself, but the biggest problem is to basically, because you're an entrepreneur, to know that there are risks and to confess yourself that you're basically every day working with them. And this is something that we are not aware of.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so my number one, I would say, the advice for the young entrepreneurs, the people that are it goes very well together with managing the risk. Mm-hmm. So my number one advice is get a job. And then if you manage in a couple of years, so like 4 to 5 years, to persist in staying at one job position, mm-hmm. One job in one company, and manage to go to some leadership position in that time, then you will, be sure that you know how to. That's mostly manageable way to see if you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur, mm-hmm. and you will also define your position as a founder. Mm-hmm. So if you're a technical guy, you will see if you are more on the technical side or you're more on development on the business side, and at the same time somebody will give you salary and you will be able to put together some money to start a company.
You learn how to have a boss,
exactly.
To be a boss.
Exactly. So that's the safe way to do it, and then after doing that, then the risk in starting up your own company is not so high.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Yeah, the advice I could give is focus, because as soon as you start with your business, you get so many opportunities, and every opportunity covers some risk, and you should qualify quite well what kind of opportunity you want to take, and don't take too much opportunities at the same time so that you can handle that.
Right. Opportunities that you don't know, right?
Yeah,
what is going to happen, and then you have to bet somehow. I don't know, Enej, if you have any.
Yeah, here I'm probably not the best in giving advice, because probably from my previous comment you could realize that I'm very risk averse. So even though in a biotech everything is very risky, developing drugs, developing products, developing technologies, both from the, let's say, IP risks, patents, are you going to have patent protection? Are you going to have freedom to operate? Have you done enough due diligence in the space? There is a risk if there is if a product will have whatever kind of toxicity, will it have superior efficiency? Will it show, this and that? At the end of the day, we've faced technologies where we've developed something and there was a market consolidation, that happens, that the entire production of a certain product went to China. Yeah. Before there were 30 manufacturers, now there are 3. And so there's a risk you cannot. This is, things that then you have your SWOT table, what you do, what you can influence, what you cannot influence. But I guess we have done things. I do understand that, a big part of entrepreneurship is taking risks to make, things. We are taking risks, of course, but mostly we try to avoid risks.
You're managing risks more.
You manage risks,
right?
Yeah.
More than taking risks.
So sometimes, and it's always a plus and minus. I mean, sometimes you may not take a certain opportunity because you're trying to avoid the risks. Maybe you would gain by taking the opportunity and taking the risk. So it's a difficult choice, yeah. So in our company, for instance, we've always, let's say, maintained a strong position that revenue comes first. We've been profitable from year one by providing almost 2/3 of the capacity of the company for doing services to other companies. With that, we generate cash flow to then invest into our own pipeline. So, we could take venture capital investment. We could, have our services business to invest more into proprietary, but then you risk. Maybe, maybe you're successful, but maybe you put at risk also all the employees you have, the entire business that you've developed for the last 10 years and so on. So it's a hard choice, yeah.
And I like these comments that you all made about this, how to start and how people get it wrong in the beginning, because there are these theories that you start with who you know, with what you know, and who you are, with this self-knowledge. I mean, a lot of people talk about self-knowledge, but this is very deep, actually. It's, now it's kind of a fashion, everybody talk about mindfulness, but really, entrepreneurs are the ones who first understand your own weaknesses, and then you look for partners, then you look for, a venture capital can be a partner, an ecosystem player can be a partner, it doesn't matter much, but because you know who you are. And I don't know, just we're running almost out of time, but for this first-time entrepreneur, and I think this is, I like the comment that you made on this, having a boss first, because, and I totally agree with the fact that it's not a mistake, it's part of the deal, right? You don't have to know everything, and it's okay to make a mistake and several mistakes. The problem is if you don't learn from that mistake, right? Because they're not going to keep doing. So if you can make a quick round of these comments for someone who is really starting, not someone who have the perspective of experienced entrepreneurs that you guys have, but this piece of advice that sounds basic, but they are not. And my first, I think, would be self-knowledge. Invest a lot in whatever, even if it's to talk to a psychologist, to know yourself, to do tests, doesn't matter. But self-knowledge, it would be my personal advice. The first one, I don't know what you guys, from your experience, would recommend.
Yeah, we are at CONDA crowd investing platform, so we have supported now about 40 companies, and what we see is that the companies are successful if the C-level first and then the team together can develop. And if they develop, so personally, as you said, personally develop, so they can challenge their own personal weaknesses, then the company is successful. And I think my advice would be to start with your own weaknesses and accept them and see how you cope with those own weaknesses. And if you're open for that, then you can be successful with the company.
Well, I already gave my number one advice.
Sure. 1 or 2 or 10. I mean,
that was the one. That one was to get a job and then go through the complete cycle in a safe way. And then you just go through the experience in a safe way, and that's how you learn. And then at a certain point you will also have to take the very difficult decision.
Yeah.
And that's what you mentioned, that are you going to quit your well-paid job and then start from zero and make one? Go from zero to
Which is
one.
never from zero in this case, right? Because you're already managing some risks, because you know people, you know your product, or you know your weaknesses. So you're kind of you're starting from zero, but you're kind of already know that you own some of the risks, right? Yeah.
So you gain some experience. And that's the hardest thing is that if you have zero experience, and then you want to kind of get into entrepreneurship, well, that's you pay for, as one speaker said, yeah, you pay for your education. So
the risks are much higher in this sense.
I would say don't start a startup, but rather try to be the best in what you do. It doesn't matter. You can work in a big company, you can work in the government, you can be a farmer, but really try to be and do whatever you can to be the best in what you do. And if everybody in our company or in any other company would do so, I believe we would be one of the most successful startups.
If collectively they do the best.
So yeah, first start something that you really like. Talk to as many people as you can along the way. And don't forget about yourself, your family, and friends.
Which is something entrepreneurs sometimes, people
we all forget about it. So, but yeah, in short, that's it.
Totally agree.
Yeah, these were very good comments. So I have very little to add, but maybe to merge yours with some of the other comments is that to some degree know yourself, but not, I wouldn't go to a psychiatrist, but more know your limits. Many entrepreneurs try to be all and control all and deliver everything what they think unexperiencedly they think they know. You have to know your limits and you have to build a team to match those limits. So bring top guys or girls to complement, and basically with all the complementary skills, it's far more achievable. And of course, you know, gather as much knowledge, be prepared, know what you're doing. That's about it, yeah.
No, I really love all your comments. I mean, it's, I don't know, it's the thing of not having a clear prescription, and I think we are all kind of experienced in this entrepreneurship thing, but it's amazing to see that when you get all this point where you see that there is no one prescription, right? I mean, it's really hard to put into buckets, but at the same time, I see some commonalities of, you know, being realistic, and I think it's about time. I mean, of course, entrepreneurs are heroes, and I think, but it's about time to not create this external pressure, because I think what happens is that when people start to judge themselves according to what is in the media or what's in the paper, so I look, the guy that is 25 years old, 100 million euros success, I mean, it takes on you, but not a question of being deaf, but exactly, follow what you guys advised. I don't know if you guys have another piece of advice, because I'm in this advice mode today, and I really want to pick the brains. I think it's a luxury to have 5 experienced entrepreneurs sitting at the same time. I don't know if you have any last round of thoughts on how to be an entrepreneur, or the experience, the real experience. It's going to be an honor.
Maybe before you start setting up your own company, talk to with as many people as you can about what it means doing a startup, and perfect would be also with possible customer to get an idea if it makes sense. And this
don't be afraid. Right?
Don't be afraid of going out and speaking with a lot of people.
Nobody's going to steal your idea, right?
Talk to the customers constantly, just every day. Talk to the customers, and then, you know, that's how you build your product. Just, you know, never close up and just like I'm building the product, everybody, but just constantly talk to the customers and then build the product along the way.
And if you can sell something for €1, then you start to have a business, right, at this moment.
Yeah. If they are continue, for my experience, maybe it's not so much important if they give you €1, but right. if they continuously continue talking with you and, you know, having you at their offices,
you are onto something.
It means that, because everybody is busy, and if they want to invite you again and again and again, that means that you mean something to them. Exactly.
So as a last piece of advice, I would say that, of course, talk to many people, first customers, then, of course, your family, and, of course, a lot of advisors, investors, and so on. But still, listen to those advices, but filter them well. Because on the end, you're doing your startup, you have your own vision, and an opinion on your vision can be very, you know, misleading. So keep on working what you want to do.
Right. And then I heard once that this thing about treat everybody well, because everybody's on their own battles. So I totally agree with that.
I think I already said it, but if I can add another one, so be persistent. So don't give up.
Great.
But be willing to adjust, because the comments, you know, talk to people, talk to customers, do research, do plenty of research, really know your business, because there are so many things out there, so many things patented, so many things done. So even if you're passionate and you believe you have a great product, many times it's already out there.
Someone else is
so I agree, you know, what drives your passion. Don't give up on it, for sure, but make sure that you know what you're doing. So, you know, be willing to adjust. Don't go headbanging into something with a product that nobody needs or is already out there.
Perfect. Gentlemen, a big honor to have you here. Thank you very much. I think there was gold here in this advice. I hope you guys enjoyed. There were no questions, but I hope you guys enjoyed this journey that we had here with these 5 gentlemen. So a round of applause. Thank you very much.